low.
Now to the White House, where Press Secretary and the White House National Security spokesperson are talking about those unidentified objects. Let's listen in.
The issue of high-altitude, low-speed craft. Now, let me start with the Chinese program. When President Biden came into office, he directed the U.S. intelligence community to do a broad assessment of Chinese intelligence capabilities and to ensure that we were working to detect and to protect against them. I think for reasons that you will all understand, we cannot publicly go into many details about how we discover and counteract foreign intelligence collection efforts, because much of what we have done and are doing is, of course, sensitive. But we were able to determine that China has a high-altitude balloon program for intelligence collection that's connected to the People's Liberation Army. It was operating during the previous administration, but they did not detect it. We detected it. We tracked it. And we have been carefully studying it to learn as much as we can. We know that these PRC surveillance balloons have crossed over dozens of countries on multiple continents around the world, including some of our closest allies and partners. We assessed that at this time, these balloons have provided limited additive capabilities to the PRC's other intelligence platforms used over the United States. But in the future, if the PRC continues to advance this technology, it certainly could become more valuable to them. The president also instructed the intelligence community to take a broad look at the phenomenon of unidentified aerial objects. Indeed, President Biden conducted the first ever daily intelligence briefing session devoted to this phenomenon back in June of 2021. He was briefed that this is not just an issue for the United States, but one for the rest of the world. And as I said, our friends and our partners are dealing with this as well. We worked on a bipartisan basis to stand up an office at the Pentagon to study this in partnership with the intelligence community, academic institutions, and the private sector. These unidentified aerial phenomena have been reported for many years without explanation or deep examination by the government. President Biden has changed all that. We are finally trying to understand them better.
I'm in my second home, Allerdale, Scotland. Isn't it beautiful here?
Now, in light of the Chinese balloon program and this recent incursion into our airspace, the United States and Canada, through NORAD, have been more closely scrutinizing that airspace, including enhancing our radar capabilities, which, as the commander of NORTHCOM and NORAD, General Van Herk, said just last night, may at least partially explain the increase in the objects that have been detected. Slow-moving objects at high altitude with a small radar cross-section are difficult to detect on radar. Even objects the size of the Chinese spy balloon, which had a payload the size of roughly 3 school buses, were not picked up by previous administrations or other countries. We also know that a range of entities, including countries, companies, research, and academic organizations, operate objects at these altitudes for purposes that are not nefarious at all, including scientific research. That said, because we have not yet been able to definitively assess what these most recent objects are, we acted out of an abundance of caution to protect the security, our interest, and flight safety. In Saturday's case, we acted in consultation with the Canadian government, the president speaking personally with Prime Minister Trudeau. The spy balloon was, of course, different because we knew precisely where that was. As we have said, we do not assess that these most recent objects posed any direct threat to people on the ground, and we are laser focused on confirming their nature and purpose, including through intensive efforts to collect debris in the remote locations where they have fallen. In each instance, we have followed the same basic course. We assessed whether they posed any kinetic threat to people on the ground. They did not. We assessed whether they were sending any communication signals. We detected none. We looked to see whether they were maneuvering or had any propulsion capabilities. We saw no signs of that. And we made sure to determine whether or not they were manned. They were not. We did, however, assess that their altitudes were considerably lower than the Chinese high-altitude balloon and did pose a threat to civilian commercial air traffic. And while we have no specific reason to suspect that they were conducting surveillance of any kind, we couldn't rule that out. That is why the president, at the recommendation of the Secretary of Defense, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the NORTHCOM NORAD commander, gave the order to shoot them down.
So I'll just hold there, guys, and I'll get this on the screen here. So, guys, basically, this is a bit of a stream here. We're going to organise here to try and figure out what the hell is going on with these Americans and their crap. So, just briefly there, I've got Triff in here joining us tonight, or today, this evening. And I can hear you, Triff, that you're a bit quiet there, man. What's going on there? What do you got going on? You got a new mic there happening?
I can't hear you, man.
Can't hear me at all. Oh, we've got a bit of a glitch here. So sorry, guys, we had a bit of a stall there. Triff was running a bit late there, running his errands there. So I hope we can get him in there working properly. And I've got you coming through here, mate. But you might have to go and check your audio settings there through your headset there you got going. Yeah, he's a bit mumbly there, so we'll try and get him on his other mic there. You sound a bit louder there, man. Go and have a bit of a sound test. I can hear something coming through. I can hear you going pretty good there. What's happening there?
How's that? Is that better?
That's a lot better. Can you hear
There
us?
you go. Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry, mate.
That's all good. No, it's all good, man.
Many apologies.
Mate, welcome.
Sir. Hey, Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year to you, mate. It's been a while. It's been well a bit overdue there, but you know, we've got all our errands we've got to go running here and stuff and whatnots, and all this stuff and chaos around the world is happening around the world. You know, it's sort of getting a bit chaotic because what the hell's going on, really?
Well, look, mate, we decided to we thought we better put our 10 cents in, right? We thought we better because look, theoretically, Anthony, the US has shot down 3 UFOs in.
It's actually 4.
Well, they're including.
I'm not including.
I'm not including the
yep.
balloon. The balloon.
Yep.
Not including the balloon. Okay.
Yep, sorry.
But yeah, technically they've shot 3 UFOs down in the last 3 days. Oh, Grub's joined us. How are you, Grub? So yeah, look. What do you? Well, I've got plenty to say, but I thought I'd let you start. What do you reckon, man? What's your take on it?
Well, my take on this is I'm not ready to jump to conclusion that we're going to go calling these extraterrestrial crafts by any means just yet. The fact is that there's not enough evidence to go and prove that these are ETs. And I've also got a bit of a statement there from the US Congress, or not Congress, the bloody US government's there saying they're not ETs. I'll show that video in a minute. But look, yeah, for me, like as you know, I don't jump to conclusions and try and claim anything ET without the evidence there, trying to get some sort of conclusion before I even make a bit of speculation on anything.
Yep.
But for me, I think it's just you know, it could be possibly another Chinese balloons doing their thing, you know, traveling across, whether they are from the Chinese military or could be from a different Chinese organization. That's the thing we don't know yet. So I'm not going to be jumping to conclusions here and speculating that. Yeah, well, like I said, I'm not going to go to ET.
Yeah, no, I understand. And look, I've had the US UTC correspondents on the job, right? I've got some US boys that look into some of this stuff for me. And so the official word is 3 objects, right? 2 cylindrical objects, no obvious means of propulsion, about the size of a car. I'd say Tic Tacs if we were going to choose something. And then we also have a octagonal object, okay, somewhere over Lake Halal, Michigan, right? Yep. So at this stage, they are 3 unidentified flying objects, okay? I think 2 were taken down by an F-22, 1 was taken down by an F-16. My question is, and again, I'm not jumping to ETs. My question is, why all of a sudden go on the offensive, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how many these things, these Tic Tacs, these cylinders, these squares inside circles, right? If we are to believe the reports and everything else that's come out over the last year or 2 years, right? These things have been in our airspace and are in our airspace and have been for years and years and years. Yeah. So why all of a sudden do we go offensive, or why all of a sudden did the US go offensive?
Right.
Yeah, I'm not going ETs, man. I'm honestly going false flag, to be perfectly honest. I think there's so much stuff going on in the world right now that all of a sudden we're shooting down UFOs. Okay. I mean, there's a number of different tacks, mate. You know what I mean? I don't know which way you want to go with it, but I mean, the bottom line is, your research, my research, Grubb's research, as he's punching the comments out there. We know that these things have been detected by radar for years and years and years and years and years, mainly off land in the ocean, from what we understand, from what we've been told, right? Which is always a question. However, why all of a sudden we're shooting them down? That's my question. Okay, and I don't include the balloon. The balloon, less said about the balloon, the better. Like, that is the most ridiculous thing. My response to the balloon was, in World War One, they sent balloons with bombs over them, and the British would come out and laugh at them. That's what they thought about a balloon, right? So the balloon was the ultimate distraction, I think, right? What was going on, why the balloon stuff was going on? Okay, you know what I mean? Or what's going on now, why this stuff's going on? Okay?
Exactly.
And, I think it's an interesting thing. I smell bullshit, and I smell a false flag, to be perfectly honest. That's
no, it's definitely interesting. But going on that too, though, like suddenly with these whole detections with these, well, I don't know if you want to call them balloons or these UFOs, whatever they could be, possibly. Going from this few of the articles I've read, that NORAD has changed their radar systems to be a lot more sensitive to these smaller objects, or slower objects.
Yeah.
So, like, let's go through the article I've had here, if I can find it again.
Yeah, please do,
this,
mate.
this is going through the New York Times claim. So, like, I know New York Times is somewhat reliable in its own sense, but if I can find this,
it's still corporate media, Anthony. I wouldn't rely.
That's right. So going through the where does it go? So I think this might be it here. So yeah, okay. After the transit of the spy balloon this month, they're calling it a spy balloon at this point, even though they haven't really made any claims to say it's spy balloon. But because it's Chinese, they're obviously saying, okay, look, it's potentially a spy balloon, which is by all means, yes, it could potentially be. So anyway, I'll read the article. So after the transit of the spy balloon this month, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, or NORAD, adjusted its radar system to make it more sensitive. As a result, the number of objects it detected increased sharply. So how many are we talking about, like, here? Increased sharply. So that's right. Saying that's a lot of objects it's starting to detect.
Yeah.
So in other words, NORAD is picking up more incursions because it is looking for them. Spurred on by the heightened awareness caused by the furor over the spy balloon, which floated over the continental United States for a week before an F-22 shot it down on Feb 4th. So that's a long time to be sitting there going, well, what the hell is that, before even going and having a look at it.
It's ridiculous, man. I mean, look, there's a bigger conversation I want to have with you about the UAP phenomenon. However, they were tracking that balloon the moment it entered airspace, right? There's nothing that you can say that convinces me that every single time that these things encroach airspace. I mean, if you remember too, so NORAD upgraded its radar. That's what made the F-18s able to see these things too, is right. They had radar upgrade in their nose, right? So you're not telling me that any radar system that can pick these objects up isn't tracking them, but a balloon that just floated over nuclear bases. I mean, that's the biggest. It's a literal distraction. Oh, look at the balloon! Look at the big balloon. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. It's ridiculous. But the other stuff, I'm not surprised that there's a radar upgrade, but I'm surprised that all of a sudden we've gone offensive. That's what surprises me.
From having several hundred drones, well, not hundreds, but several drones floating around a ship there doing nothing, and yet they're like, oh, it's all good, she's all sweet, no worries here. Like, you just act as you were, soldiers,
Yeah,
yet
no
all of a sudden, to all of a sudden, okay, we're on the high defense.
Yeah, now we're shooting them down, right? I mean, unfortunately, we can't. And I was trying to find the article. Fourth mystery object shot out of the sky, right? This is the one I was looking for. But again, we're using news.com and New York Times, right? This is the corporate media. Okay. So what distractions are playing? You know what I mean? So yeah, they're saying shot down another unidentified flying object over Lake Huron, right? The object has been downed by pilots from the US Air Force and the National Guard. Great work, blah, 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 right? So it depends on which article you read. They are still classifying them as unidentified flying objects, which is interesting in itself, considering the government changed the terminology to UAP. right? It's not
Yeah.
UFO anymore. It's UAP. So it's fascinating, man. I mean, there was I can imagine your chat groups have gone nuts. I know mine have
Yeah.
over this stuff, which is why we're here today. We thought we better get something down. Was it Trudeau? So we are a F-22 jet acting on the orders of Prime Minister, a high-altitude airborne object over the Yukon. Canadian officials described it as small and cylindrical, roughly the size of a Volkswagen car. I love how they do that.
Yeah, it'll be dub.
Yeah,
It'll catch on fire by the time it gets there.
Yeah, that's right. So, so the groups that I'm in, we've all sort of said, what else is going on? Okay.
Yeah.
So, if we are you want to go conspiracy minded through the Twitter files and everything else, the Epstein client list is about to be released. Oh, look, there's a UFO, right? And now we're shooting them down. Now, there's also a train crash that's happened in mid-America of PVC, polyvinyl chloride, which is on a scale, an environmental disaster worse than the BP oil spill in Mexico many years ago. And I'm on news.com. I can't see anything about a train crash. Right?
True. Okay. On the road.
So, look, you can find articles about it, but you would think if it's an massive environmental disaster that it would be top of the list, right?
Yeah.
I had to dig for the fourth object being shot down, I should say. So what's the other hand doing? Okay. And I suppose it goes along. I mean, it's interesting that Grub's here, right? Because, us three talked a couple of times last year about what is tech, what is not tech, what advanced drones do we actually have that we're not hearing about? These questions need to be asked. However, I think I said in one of the chat groups the other day, it's like, yeah, I think I smell bullshit. However, at the same time, man, I hope we just haven't started an intergalactic war with a race that we don't know anything about.
Yeah, well. Well, we do
what I mean?
technically know about, in a sense.
Yeah, we technically know about them. But, it's, yeah, man, it's interesting times, right? I mean, if I had said to you, well, we were trying to see UFOs up at Lake Munduran, right? If I had said to you when we were up at Munduran, hey, man, in February, they're going to start shooting UFOs down, you would have been like, nah.
Yeah,
Right? So which lends to me the other thing. What else is going on? They've pulled the UFO card pretty early, man. Like, I thought they would wait a little while to pull this card. I mean, it's hard not to be conspiratorially minded when this sort of stuff takes place, right?
But then again, on that note too, like, we're still calling it UFO, which doesn't mean immediately ET. They're just saying an unidentified flying
object.
So they're not exactly jumping to the conclusion of it being an ET, which is everyone else's speculation at this point because it's saying UFO. That's where the whole mistake it keeps happening, where they will try to get away from the UFO term because they didn't want people immediately thinking an ET.
Extraterrestrial. Right, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's without a doubt that we have advanced tech. Okay. I think we've both said on each other's show and in private that I think all of a sudden we're going to get advanced technology, right? We're going to make a quantum leap in flight tech, in whatever, space tech, whatever you want to call it. I think that's going to happen. I think it's going to happen very quickly. And I think this is just the tech that they've been working on for years, right? Whether or not that is, what do they call it? Back engineering the UFOs, UAPs they already have, which is pretty undeniable as well. And they finally figured it out. Who knows, right? But I do agree with, so is that hydrochloride cloud, Grub, is that the result of the cloud that came down? Yeah, right. It probably would be, actually, because it's polyvinyl chloride. So the gas has gone up. It's gone into the jet stream. There's currently a cloud of hydrochloride sitting 500 miles diameter above East Palestine, which is going to drop as hydrochloric acid. Find that in the news, right?
Yeah, that's the first I've ever heard of this. So Grub's putting me on something here I'm unaware of. Like, I've been staying away from social media and all sorts of stuff at this point in time. Like, I've got my family thing to do at the moment. So,
congratulations, mate. By the way,
thank you.
Congratulations. The bub's healthy. All
10
going
good.
Toes and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it was 11 toes there. I think
11.
I'm not sure.
As long as it's the right number for you, mate.
That's right. That was everything's
um,
going well.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. I'm happy to hear the bub's going well. Give
Cheers.
give my love to the missus and the kids and that as well.
Will do.
While we talk about that, but back onto weird stuff. Yeah, I mean, what's the other hand doing, right? If Grubb is right, and there's a hydrochloride cloud sitting over Palestine that's 500 miles in diameter, why is that not? Let me refresh news.com, right? The main news site that's in Australia. More shootings in the US. Ex-Russian spy shares seduction tips. That's important. That's story number 4.
I'm feeling seduced already.
Yeah, right. And here we go, because COVID can tell the time. Date of the next COVID surge revealed. Are you serious?
Wow.
A virus can't tell the time, right? Well, no, COVID can, man. It's magical.
Right.
But there is
It's
nothing.
just like, when we're all protected by masks. If you wear a mask, it's protected. Or you got like 1.5 meters. Like, it's not going to go. It's like, oh, you're too far away. I can't get you. Yeah.
So on the world, new cake photo proves Megan wrong, right? Like, there is nothing about anything, man, right? And this is the whole point, right? It's like this stuff is going on in, all around us, right? I mean, actually, let me ask you a question. Okay. It's already in the Idaho River, dead fish everywhere, dead chickens, dead foxes, everything. So there's an environmental disaster. I mean, but talk about environmental disasters. Don't worry about the US. Northern New South Wales is a third world country, right? From all the flooding that happened over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
There's still people in tents. The shops are shut down. There's not a single journalist there. You got to ask why, right? I mean, when in the history of Australia has there been 15 floods in a row in one place, just for the record, but also more than that, how do we not know about it? Why wasn't there live aids and all this, you know what I mean, that there used to be? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard not to say now, mate. I mean, obviously, we are 12 months. I mean, 12 months ago, we were a segregated society, mate. No, scratch that. We were a segregated world. 12 months on, we got to pretend nothing's going on, and didn't happen, right? It's there's so much stuff happening at once. Then if you look on mainstream media, which I'm looking on right now, it's all bullshit, right? Whereas we know through different groups and different correspondence and stuff around the planet that all sorts of things are going on, okay? And it's like, how do we, I think with this, it's like, yeah, I mean, the thing is, man, like a couple of years ago, me and you, keen into the UFOs, oh, they're shooting down UFOs. Now we're like, nah, don't believe it.
Yeah, that's right. It changed the tunes pretty quickly, eh?
That's right. You know what I mean? We would have been super excited about this, 12 months ago, and now we're not, because it's like, it's unbelievable, right? It's the distractions are ongoing. Like I said,
That's
I mean,
right. Well, they got the massive natural disaster over in Turkey and Syria and that. Like, we had like 2 or 3 days worth of coverage on that, and next minute is nothing.
Yep, nothing. It's not happening.
And then it's more important about the these objects that the US are shooting off. That's what's taking the mainstream media at the moment. So it sort of makes you wonder, like you're saying, there's something going on in the world that we're not really aware of. So much cover up, and it's becoming bullshit. And with all this technology and stuff, we should be pretty well on point on what the hell is going on these days.
You would think so, man, but we're not privy to that stuff, right? We're not.
No.
It's. I had a bit of a discussion, and look, we've already said a number of trigger words. It's too late now, so we'll just keep going. But I mean, if you look at any post on social media or any sort of social media platform that the WEF does, or the WHO does, right? They get laughed off social media. No one cares, man, and they're just abusing the crap out of them through the. It's pretty funny, right?
Yeah.
But they are the autocrats that rule the world, apparently, right? And that's pretty plain and simple as well now. Okay, is this just another distraction, right? I mean, there was a guy. Oh, actually, the Grubb knows who I'm talking about. Theo, the UAP guy, the anti-gravity engineer, and I hadn't listened to him, and he basically said false flag. Within the next 2 or 3 weeks, it'll be blamed on Russia and China, and that's the next step for WW3, right? I mean, it seems to be they want their war, okay? And the vast population of the world doesn't want it, and we don't trust them, and we don't care. So what are they going to do, right? It's interesting, man. And what if? And let's take away from the fact that we think it's bullshit. What are you shooting down UAPs for anyway, right?
Yeah.
If that's a piece of advanced tech that can defy gravity and has no visible propulsion, if that's a drone, imagine what the warships look like that's attached to, man. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Like,
But here's the other thing too. Like, we're gonna like calling these things as a UAP or a UFO. Now, these things have this strange structure of which we're not really familiar with in regards to something that's floating in the sky.
Hmm.
So we're referring to it as like a possible tic tac. You got the other one that's like a hexagonal shape. So
yeah, one with two would be described as tic tacs as we understand it, and one was an octagonal shape, 8-sided.
Yeah. Okay, so not jumping to the conclusion that these are ETs again,
Mhm.
but going from previous history there, when the military encounters these objects, they're usually, well, from our previous reports, that they've had some sort of encounter there where they've darted away. They've had no chance of even being able to fire or be defensive against these things. Yet these things are stationary to the point there where they can actually lock on and actually shoot them
Exactly.
out.
Exactly,
So
right? Yeah. I mean,
you
every
can't
other
really say
video.
there's ET.
Yeah, that's right. Well, every other video we've had of the Tic Tac, the targeting camera couldn't follow it, right? Isn't that's the classic? That's the classic Tic Tac video, right? It moved too fast for the targeting camera. Now, I don't know what an F-16 Falcon has got as far as radar and anti-air and stuff. Obviously, the F-22 is top of the pops. I mean, the only plane that I could see in the Western arsenal is the F-22 that could probably take it to these things, okay? But an F-16, I don't know, right? Unless it was stationary enough, as you say, to get a lock on, and then it did nothing. I mean, these things,
Right.
if we go back, like you say, they disrupt radar. They disappear and reappear in 80,000 feet in 5 seconds, sort of thing, right? So,
That's right.
you know,
Although there was claim from one pilot there saying his instruments were getting disrupted, but there's only from one. So that's to say, like, he could be having an instrument glitch, maybe something going on there, but the other pilots weren't getting any sort of distortion from.
Was that the F-22 or the F-16?
I don't know. I can't remember the
Yeah.
article which I read, which is sort of
No,
all I
that's
remember
okay.
reading a claim from in regard to that.
No, that's okay.
So whether that's from the actual object itself or it could be from just the equipment failure. So again, that's not to go and jump to conclusions here to say that they are getting disrupted from a strange object.
Well, look, technology glitches happen, don't they? Right? I mean, we had to deal with one this afternoon. The reason I was a few minutes late is my whole admin system crashed at my work. So, we deal with these technical glitches all the time. But I think it's important for everybody that's listening and everybody that ends up listening to this, okay, be aware, right? What's the other hand doing, right? It smoke and mirrors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, whilst, yes, it's exciting that supposedly they may have engaged UFOs that may or may not be UAPs, whatever, right? But those of us in the know that have been studying this for a long time, it's just weird. It's weird that they've all of a sudden gone offensive.
Yeah.
And, what's the next distraction? And if you remember the list of things that were going to happen, right? All the stuff that came out during the chaos, it was like, pandemic, economic squeeze, which we're all dealing with right now. And then there was like a fake UFO invasion or alien invasion that was going to be the next control step. And like I said, I think they pulled the card pretty early, right? I thought they would wait a bit longer to try and do that. But as much as the 25-year-old me is very, very excited that, that they're acknowledging it in mainstream media, the older me is like, I don't trust anything that I see. I don't trust anything that I read. I don't trust. And, these people that, the media outlets that are reporting this are the same media outlets that lied to us for years and have been lying to us for years, but particularly during COVID, they lied to us for years, right?
Yeah.
These politicians are the same politicians that lied to us during COVID. We could complete the trifecta and chat about the farce of the Ukraine stuff, right? And I think that's another thing too, right? I mean, they want their war with Russia. and I wouldn't be surprised if they try and use this as a mechanism.
Yeah, well, if you look at it this way too, like, you know, because the American, you know, American governments have admitted to the whole UAP phenomenon thing, and they're actually looking into it. So it's not hard for people to sort of jump to the conclusion that there could be a possible ET interaction here.
Hmm.
So you can't sort of blame people, but it's also the point where you got to sort of go, well, hang on a sec, don't jump to too quick to conclusions, because usually when it comes to UAPs in that nature, like you're saying, like, you know, we don't get told anything. Everything's all
No.
secrecy. Everything's all hush hush. You know, we don't get told till like 10 years later down the track. So, okay, sure, where they're open to the idea of and diving deeper into the research of these UAPs, or, you know, investigating into reports and such. But there's no reason for us to jump to the conclusion that they're going to be telling us straight away. So this is I'm going to do a quick little article here of
Show us what you got, mate.
video here. If I can find
Show
the
us
right
what you
one
got.
here. And if I can get this set up right, and I'll push this little button over here.
No mistakes,
hang on.
mate. No mistakes. 100%.
Hang on. Hang on. There we go. Right. So there's that button here.
The
Hang on,
Bendel
there it
Tech.
is.
Grub's trying to bait me. Grub's trying to bait me in the comments. But yes, I think energy RF weapons maybe. Depends, man. Do these things have shielding? I don't know. We don't know that, do we?
That's
You know,
all questions. But as Grub mentioned too, like, okay, so like, before I go and start this video, Grub mentioned too, like, for example, you know, these things are flying over in the US. You know, they're being spotted and shot down from the US. Where's the Australian side of things? Where's the rest of the world's countries' balloons flying over? Like, what's happening there? Why is it only in
ask
America?
you that, man. I mean, as the admin of the Australian Canada's Down Under UFO page, right? I reckon this year, maybe late last year into this year, I've seen more things that I would question than ever, right? You know what I mean? Like, there's definitely been some interesting videos posted on the page of what looks like balls or Tic Tacs. I mean, that the one up in Maryborough a month or two ago was really crazy, right? That looked like a genuine sighting. So these sightings are happening more often as well, right? So I mean, and like they said something. Look, I'm sort of, I don't know whether I'm still nuts and bolts or paranormal as far as the UFO, UAP stuff is concerned. I'm open to both possibilities. However, I was listening to a show a little while ago, and they said, and it's true, right? It's like as if anything that can be picked up via radar in any Western country with modern fighter jets and equipment is not being tracked and followed, especially if it's in a war zone, right? Whereas we expect them that the government's going, oh, we don't know what it is either. That's not true, right? They've been tracking these things. They know they've been seeing them for years and years and years and years and years. But now all of a sudden we've got to shoot them down, right?
Well, it's like I said before, like, you know, in the article I mentioned, like, they've been monitoring for a week before they decided to go and do anything about it. And like, if anything, you would have scrambled a couple of jets there straight away to go and find it, figure out what it is first.
You would think so. Was that the balloon, though? Or was that one of the other objects?
I think that was the balloon. I have to go back.
Yeah, the balloon they let float. I mean, and that's the thing. What modern military lets a balloon that has communication capabilities float over nuclear sites and missile silos? Oh no, there's a balloon! Like, seriously, right? You know, I mean, and they say it's from China. Did it have made in China when they found it crashed? Like, how do they know it's from China? Like,
that's right.
Well, I mean, China did react to the balloon from a political standpoint. However, and interestingly, they haven't reacted to any of the other things, right? But is that part of the psyop? Is that part of the game that they're trying to play with us? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a hard one, man. Look, we both want to believe it's UAPs and stuff, man. We both want to believe, you know what I mean? But our job as podcasters, as researchers, is to be objective and is to look at all options.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, and here's another side point, right? So they shot down two that looked the same, then they shot down another one. So do we just start a fight with two races or just one?
That's right. Could have been totally two different races. Oh no, we're buggered now.
We just started a fight with two intergalactic species. Apparently,
we're buggered. But going on the same point, like. Because, like, you know, what was I going to go with this then? I've lost myself now.
Sorry, mate.
because like obviously the whole stigma is still attached to the whole UFO topic and whatnot, and so this is where I'm going to go with jumping to conclusions. Like you're saying, well, we can't jump to conclusions. We've got to be critical in everything that we do, which is like we love to encourage this, and we need to encourage this more. So, and this is really going through this little article here, this little segment here of what you're going to see of pure result of the stigma that's still attached. So if I'm going to push this here, and I'm going to push the little button here, and we'll have listen for a minute. Hopefully it's going to come through. Oh, that's muted. Hang on.
Just want to make sure we address this from the White House. I know there have been questions and concerns about this, but there is no indication of aliens or extraterrestrial activity with these recent takedowns. Again, there is no indication of aliens or terrestrial activity with these recent takedowns. Wanted to make sure that the American people knew that, all of you knew that, and it was important for us to say that from here because we've been hearing a lot about it. I'm not. I'm just, I loved E.T. the movie, but I'm just going to leave it there.
Officials in the Pentagon, when asked explicitly if they were ruling out any kind of extraterrestrial presence, said they weren't ruling anything out. And yet, at the beginning of today's briefing, albeit with her usual winning smile, Ms. Jean-Pierre seemed to rule out any extraterrestrial activity.
I don't think the American people need to worry about aliens with respect to these craft. Period. I don't think there's any more that needs to be said there.
So that's,
well,
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, again, they just blow it off, right?
Yeah.
So we admit we shot down unidentified flying objects to distract you for the 3 days that we needed you distracted for. But like I said, it'd be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of weeks, right? They'll find a Chinese or a Russian flag on these bloody things, right? And then that then is an act of aggression on the mainland of America, which then causes them to justify the next step up of military action. I mean,
yeah. But I just want to point out though, watching through that video, people had a bit of a laugh about the whole thing, which is it's expected in a sense. But I don't know if you listen closely to that. Then there's a reporter that asked, "Would you tell us anyway?"
Yeah, right. What did they say?
There was no mention because everyone was too busy laughing and bullshit.
That's right.
So that's something that missed. I want to point that out. Like this guy asked a genuine question that needed to be answered, and that should be the main focus. Would you tell us if it was ETs, regardless?
Yeah,
and
the
that's
answer to that is the answer is probably no. I mean,
probably not.
But again, I mean, how do you? At what point are we going to start denying the phenomena? Right? I mean, it's we're both in interesting realms of research where I'm looking at advanced ancient civilizations. The evidence for that is overwhelming, right? Whereas you're looking at UAP and UFO encounters, right? And we're working with Grant Levac, and there's the documentary coming out, and there's this and there's that, right?
Yeah.
At what point? Sure, if it's look, I mean, I think we said on one of the shows last year, is there a race living under the ocean? That's where the Tic Tacs seem to go, right?
Yeah.
They keep going underground or in the ocean. There's a heap of sightings of that. So there mightn't be ETs, there might be UTs, there might be ultra-terrestrials, right? Is there a race that is still here that's been living here for who knows how long? It's a fair question. I mean, the other problem we have, Anthony, in our modern world is that everything must be questioned. Okay.
Absolutely.
I totally agree, Paul. And that's sort of what we're saying. It's all bullshit, right? We cannot trust anything that comes from any corporate or political media source because it's quite clear that they are either bought out or controlled by other entities.
Yeah. So for those who are listening through the audio version there on the podcast there, Paul has commented here saying, I feel that it's in the media being reported as it's bullshit. COVID fast has confirms it for me, and I'm sure for many others.
Exactly.
Sorry for reading that horribly, but yeah, but yeah, it's true. It's everything that we see from the media is practically bullshit. Like they might do it, like the whole today, like Valentine's Day, because it's was getting done on Valentine's Day. Obviously, half their shows is all about Valentine's bullshit. Through the news there, like I'm sitting there with a bub and that, just watching a bit of the news, and just all Valentine's crap. And it's like I don't care about that. I want to know what's happening around the world. That's actually, informative.
Yeah, I mean, as we said, mate, let's take your pick. Leave the UFO stuff out. the earthquake in Turkey that has apparently killed a lot of people, right? That has destroyed everything.
Yeah.
A massive chemical spill in the middle of the US, rivaling any other environmental disaster ever seen. You know, northern New South Wales was never covered last year. I mean, Grubb said the Hawkesbury's starting to tidy it up after the floods, but I mean, isn't there more rain coming? You know what I mean? Like, it seems to be
Yeah.
going again. You know, take your pick, right? How come we're not talking about the fact that the prices have gone up 55%? Everything,
Yeah.
right? And every single major global corporation is making countless billions more profit, right? There is actually no reason for the price to go up apart from people making more money.
That's right.
Right? They're just squeezing the middle class, but we can't talk about that, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's so many things, right? The death rate is up 17% month on month. That's thousands and thousands and thousands of extra people dying. Nobody cares, right? You know, we can't talk about the died suddenly club, mate. That's the first rule. Can't talk about it. It's not allowed to talk about it.
No, that's right. So, guys, if you people are listening in the show here, look, if you've got some opinions on the whole phenomena here, that's you thought, what you think about the whole objects that are being shot down, whatever you think of the whole topic here, what we're talking about, feel free to throw in the comments here. We'd love you to have your opinions there, so feel free to go and join in the chat here. Because it's absolutely strange what's happening there, what's going on. Yeah, like we've been talking about, is this a cover up for something there to go and draw our attention to something else that is happening in the works in the background here? Like it's of course, yeah, it's all speculation at this point, but you know, there's something that's definitely going on. Are we on the brink of World War III coming up? You know, that's another question that's going to be.
You would almost say that World War III has already started. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, part of the last couple of months, I've been diving back into the research.
Sorry, I've got Joanne here's commenting something
confused by the comments that they aren't all balloons. No. So, so Joanne, just so we're clear, it is one balloon, potentially Chinese, that floated across the US for a week, and everyone went, "Oh, look, it's a balloon." Then over the course of 3 days, 3 other things were shot down. They were described as cylindrical shaped. I think me and Anthony would say Tic Tacs. The third object was described as an octagonal shape that was shot down over Lake Hoole in Michigan, right? Again, over a massive expanse of water, just saying. So they're not all balloons. That, as I say, for those just joining us, I confirmed that with the Unlocking the Code UTC US correspondents. I've got some boys over there that I'm going to be talking to over the weekend, actually, and we're going to be discussing this and many more things. However, look, I mean, part of the research, you know, the ongoing global understanding that we all got to try and have, which is harder and harder to do, and then try and attempt to keep a normal life. I mean, the Ukraine conflict, Russia hasn't even tried yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if they actually try properly, and look, historically, those that know about world wars and Russian war in particular, the first year of a Russian war is always a travesty. It's always just a total fuck up, all right? And then they get their stuff together, and the second year is a whole lot different. You know, I don't know. But you'd be hard-pressed not to say that, you know, for many, many years, Anthony, as far as like World War III is concerned, the political landscape, whilst very different, and the movements and stuff is not unlike that either prior to World War I or World War II. Tensions have been building for a long time. Joanne, I think they want them to be Russian because that'll give them the reason they need to engage Russia, right? Which I think is just a ridiculous idea. I mean, what do we even, you know? I mean, who would actually be for World War III?
I don't think anyone will be, to be honest. No one.
No one is, man. Like,
unless there's like some sort of, I don't know, political gain to it or something.
Well, there's always political gain, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's this. What I see the other day, I think it was Raytheon or one of these military-industrial complex companies that are supplying the offensive weapons to the Ukraine just did a deal to rebuild the place, right? So, you know, double dipping, right? Here's the bombs to bomb everything, and when you're done, we'll fix it. We got you, right? Right? It's like,
yeah,
I mean, I think the other
ridiculous.
question is, Anthony, is how stupid do we think they are? Or how stupid do they think we are? I
We
should
are,
say,
yeah, yeah.
right?
That says better.
You know what I mean? I
That's
mean,
right. But the problem is though, we can't do jack shit about it because we're just the
no,
general public.
yeah,
And it's like, well, what? How can we go against this? It's trying to go, well,
mm,
hey, we don't want this. Like, we can go on strikes and some sort of political sort of Yahoo about this whole thing, saying we don't agree with this, we don't want this. It's not going to change anything. We're not going to stop anything.
mm.
It's just
It's
we don't
an
have the power
interesting
for it.
question. It's an interesting question, mate. I think, look, I definitely think more people woke up during the COVID times than anyone
Definitely.
during history, right? Everybody woke up to, we didn't quite understand how deep the rabbit hole went. And I think now we do to a large degree. And that comes with an understanding, right? I think there's some questions we'll address in the chat in a second. However, just
Yeah.
to finish my thought, what do? There needs to be a collective consciousness because we're just the general public. Anthony, we are the 99%, man.
Yeah.
Right? If we actually remembered that and realized that, then if we decided collectively to make change, we could, right? However, as we were shown over the last 3 years, especially, fear, control, and divide and conquer are very effective tools, right? And
Absolutely.
it continues, I mean, it's a little bit hippy dippy, and we'll get back to the questions. However, it's not hippy dippy. It's life, right? Color, creed, sex, religion, none of it matters, man. We're all brothers and sisters on the same big blue ball hurtling through infinity. And if we could actually realize that, these people have no power. They only have the power that we give them, right?
Yeah.
And like I said before, any social media post by the World Economic Forum or the World Health Organization gets laughed off social media, right? No one is taking them seriously apart from themselves, and I think there's definitely a hubris that's involved with these people where they think that we're just going to go along with it. Whereas I think if they tried anything crazy again, not only Aussies would remember who the fuck they are, but people around the world would remember who we are, and maybe we'd actually stand as one this time. You know what I mean? Here's hoping, right?
Here's hoping. But this is a good example there for that, like where we all stood together when Russia was proclaiming war on Ukraine. The world sort of jumped together, and there were protests and that saying, "Look, we don't agree with you and Russia and that," but it still didn't stop them.
No.
So it's like again, it's like how can you bring the power to the people there to go and really bring a justice to the system? To say, well, like, bringing power to the people.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. And we are in prophetic times, Anthony. Okay, and I've been saying that since 2020. What we need to understand is that our children's children's children will research what is going on right now. Because whatever happens and however this plays out, will define our children's lives and their lives. All right? That's what's happening here. And this UFO, UAP stuff is just another one of the either distractions, right? I mean, you look at Callboy here, right? I've been following ufology for about 38 years. I've never seen oddness like this. Exactly. I mean, we've had a drip feed. I mean, Callboy's talking about drip feeding there, right? So, the footage and the sightings have been slowly ticking up, right? I mean, one of the craziest things about COVID, amongst many crazy things, is that they confirm UFOs are real or UAPs are real and no one cared, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right, man. The offensive, that's really well done. And I agree. The offensive reactions by the government is puzzling and concerning, right? It's true. It is puzzling and concerning. Because, I mean, as we said, on the UFO page, on the Encounters Down Under page, there's been multiple sightings of late that is very, very curious, right? That are not nothing. I'm sure you'd agree with that, man. So what are we going to scramble some F-18s out of Amberley, right? Start shooting these things out of the sky?
Yeah.
Look, what's next kind of scares me. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean,
comment from Stephen there. Thanks for this comment.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. What's next? And that's where I was sort of asking, like, is the all-out World War III going to be coming? What's next?
But I think, again, as a collective, I mean, Alana's there talking about collective consciousness, right?
Yeah.
one of the things that we're realizing on the back end of COVID, as opposed to when we're in the middle of it, is that actually most of us had the same idea, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Some of us were pressured into doing things we didn't want to do, right? But we all saw through it. And we see it now. And once it's seen, it can't be unseen. You know what I mean? So I think we're going to have to ride it out. I mean, I've said for ages, the chaos isn't over. Okay. Like I said before, the corporations are making untold profits. There is no reason for the price of everything to be going up. Okay. It's unbelievable, right? But maybe there is a larger, scarier picture, right, that we've just had. Oh, we won't read through everything that's just been put in the comments, but maybe there is a larger, much scarier picture going on, right? Like we started this conversation, man, smoke and mirrors, dude, right? What's one hand doing? Okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's one hand doing? Okay.
Yeah, look over here. I'm going to do this stuff over here.
Look, there's UFOs over here. There's UFOs over here, right? I mean, the Epstein list was supposed to be released this week.
What was that? Sorry, I missed that.
The Epstein client list.
Yep.
Right. Which basically would confirm the global cabal. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So, we can't have that come out. Let's give them UFOs. That'll make them happy. However, by and large, I see on most of the social media groups and channels and stuff that I'm a part of, everybody agrees with us, what we're saying here today.
Absolutely.
You know, so I think
it's good. So we're on the right path, at least. You know, we're on the right one thing. It's Alana was saying, you know, consciousness, collective consciousness. We're all thinking the same thing. We're saying the same thing, as you were saying, like, you know, COVID was a perfect example. But I also want to go and draw back to the main topic here about these objects again. Now, going through what we were saying with the odd shapes and such. So going through with a Tic Tac shape, everyone's all familiar with the weather balloons, which was a classic. Well, we saw a video there. I can probably get the video up for the
well, hang on. Let me clarify. Let me clarify with the balloon, just so we get it clear as well, right? That was not a weather balloon. Okay, a weather balloon. Yeah, well, a balloon is a balloon, right? But a weather balloon is much lighter. It can be larger, and it's not capable of carrying a payload like we saw underneath that balloon. Okay, so that was a different. You know, it's been branded as a weather balloon, but it's not. Okay, the weather balloon is lighter, can be larger, and it cannot carry a payload. I mean, we saw a full surveillance rig underneath that balloon. So it was another type of technology altogether. Then it's not a weather balloon. You know, we need to be pretty careful. You know, and the thing is, like we said, man, we've got to try and get the terminology as right as we can.
That's right. But it's still interesting. It is like because obviously, because it's got the classic balloon shape. It's got that, like you're saying, the payload's weird and odd, whatnot. So as you're saying, it shouldn't be able to do that. But going to the other two objects there, or the other three objects, I should say. So the two main Tic Tacs. So everyone's all familiar with a blimp. So this could be very well a possibility that these are a blimp in a smaller sense.
Yeah,
obviously the shape's the same, you know, and they can carry a decent payload of sense if they are carrying anything at all. We don't know in that regard. And then the hexagonal shape could be a oddly shaped balloon. That's I don't know, you look at those solar solar sails that they have for the space travel and that. Similar shape. I think they're about sort of hexagonally shaped and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, they are. Look, I saw a drone. I saw a personal flying device that looked like an octagonal shape that you stand up in. It's like a stand-up drone thing, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I mean, it could be anything. I mean, the only thing that I would counter with that is that all like in sort of going through the information quickly before I jumped on. Thanks, Cowboy. Appreciate it, man. Thanks, guys. Sorry, where was I? I was going through the information the boys sent from the US. So the initial reports were that both the cylindrical objects shattered, is what they said.
Yes, that's right.
All right. They were hit by air-to-air missiles and they shattered. Now, a balloon wouldn't do that. So, you know, that's probably the only thing there.
That's the only thing that's when I was talking to you as well, when we were talking private chats in regards to that. I come up with a theory that, like, possibly with the atmospheric height. There's freezing temperatures there on the moment or like impact there. It could have been like frozen on the outside, maybe,
Yeah.
but still holding that structural integrity
Absolutely.
until obviously it's got the impact of the missile and something. It just shatters, because it's just suddenly freezing because of the cold temperatures and the release of gases.
Yeah.
Something on that nature. Like there could be a lot to it. But again, I'm just speculating and guessing on the reasons of why it could possibly shatter. Or this is a much better material that's from your rubbery balloon that can travel kilometers or hundreds of
Yeah,
thousands of
longer
kilometers
distance.
across.
Yeah.
Because I think one was at 40. Hang on, was it 40,000 feet?
Yeah,
or
one was
higher?
at 40. One was at 40. One was at, I think one was 60. One was 40. One was 20. I'm not sure about the other one.
I don't know. Then I think this one was probably at 80 or something. It was like so much
I'm
higher.
not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm just going from what I can vaguely remember. But I think the Chinese one possibly was the one that was 80,000 feet, which wasn't a concern because it was so high up, which wasn't a concern for commercial airlines to run into.
And that's their reasoning, right? The reason they've
Yeah.
opened fire is that these things are operating within a commercial aircraft
Yeah.
flight zone, which is roughly 20 to 40, 50,000 feet.
Yeah. So for aerial safety and that sort of, they had to get on shoot down. But they also had to go and wait till these things traveled over into water or oceanic distances, so they can shoot these things down without falling on someone's head.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the theory. Yeah. They had to wait till they went into an unpopulated area in order to shoot them down successfully. But I mean, again, if we are to believe, even like what we do here at UTC, man, it's the 1% rule, right? 1% of the time. What if we take 1% of all the UFO sightings that have happened in Australia, in America, and they're true? A lot of them, if they're visible, they're within that CASA flight envelope. But we've never shot them down until now, which is why I say, what's the distraction? You know what I mean?
Exactly. So I'm just going to try and find a good video here so people can see if they haven't seen the video already. I'm just trying to sneak through. I might try this one here.
An aerodynamic blimp. I'm curious, Grub. Maybe. But again, why? And I think the Tic Tac, from memory, I'm trying to, let me have a look. But I think the Tic Tac objects were clocked at moving pretty fast, right? Which begs the question, how did they stay stationary long enough to be hit by a Sidewinder? Which is not exactly the most advanced air-to-air missile. You know what I mean? That's the standard air-to-air missile that's been on planes since the 60s. So it's fascinating, man. It's it's an interesting one.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to go and get your comments in there, guys, of your opinions on the whole matter. If you agree with us or not. We also want to see both sides of the opinions here, because for all we know, we could be talking absolute bullshit out of our ass.
We most definitely are. We most definitely are talking out our ass. That is exactly what we're doing. This is exactly what we're doing.
All right, let's just give this one a go. This might be all right. I'm just bloody ads everywhere. I'm sick of them.
So this is the Lake Huron one, right? Why are you doing that? Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
And this is the one that I sent you before. Today, 2:42 p.m., at the direction of President Biden and based on the recommendations of Secretary Austin and military leadership, an F-16 fighter AIM-9X to successfully shoot down an airborne object flying at approximately 20,000 feet. Okay. In US airspace over Lake Huron in the state of Michigan. Its path and altitude raise concerns, including that it could be a hazard to civil aviation. Okay. The location chosen for this shoot down afford us the opportunity to avoid impact of people on the ground while improving chances of debris recovery, which we haven't heard about yet. There are no indications of any civilians hurt or otherwise affected. Air Defense Command detected the object Sunday morning, right? So that's what, yesterday. So over a day, over a day.
Yeah.
And has maintained visual and radar tracking of it. Based on its flight path and data, we can reasonably connect this object to the radar signal picked up over Montana, which flew in proximity to sensitive DoD sites. Okay. We did not assess it to be a kinetic military threat to anything on the ground, but assess it was a safety flight hazard and threat due to its potential surveillance capabilities. How do they know it had surveillance capabilities? Our team will now work to recover the objects, right? And this is the other thing Grub just put in there too. The WEF has warned there's going to be a cyber attack, like they warned us in October 2019. There was going to be COVID. It happened 3 months later. So I mean, what have you got for us, mate? And then we might wrap it up a little bit. I think we're
right. So I'll put this. Hang on, I've got to remember how to do this now. Because
no mistakes.
Making mistakes. I can't even just change the screen. I got to go and get rid of the damn thing and then reshare it. And it's like, I know the sharing thing.
We know what we're doing. Well, I do.
Just let me do what I need to do. Yeah, as I just wing it. So anyway, all right. I think that I'm going to do that now. I'm got so many buttons. All right, here we go. Let's switch this one. Right. So there's the object there. You can see the little white dot there. Now that's the actual F.
Oh, this is the balloon, is it? This is the balloon.
This is the balloon one. This is the craft you can see here, and you'll see a little missile come out that's from the side of it, and then the plane diverts itself away.
Yeah, there you go. Release the missile, go on the other way, and
and look at that. Look at that equipment it's bloody carrying.
Yeah, it's got a massive array under it. And they reckon, from what I understand about the equipment underneath the balloon, the weather balloon as we're calling it, it was more listening devices, radio frequency type stuff.
One thing as soon as possible. They decided, without doing damage to anyone on the ground, they decided that the best time to do that was they got over water outside.
See if Granddad mixes his words up.
12-mile limit. They successfully took it down, and I want to compliment our aviators who did it, and we'll have more to report on this a little later. Thank you.
What did you say about China?
Yeah, interesting. So hang on, where was this? It said it was I'm just gonna play the back and get that bloody South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So that must have been over the water directly.
Yeah, that was over the water. So basically, that balloon traveled over different military bases, and then they waited till it safely went out into the bay, and then they shot it down for the same reason I would say they shot the one at Lake Huron down. Yeah, the balloon's ridiculous. I'm sorry, but it just is. Okay, I can't.
I know the evidence is there. It looked like a balloon.
No, it's definitely a balloon. I'm not saying the balloon isn't real. The balloon was real. We saw it just get shot down. But how it was allowed to float through the US airspace for a week.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
even that didn't even look that high though. That's what?
No.
Maybe
that's
10,000 feet, maybe 20,000 feet.
Not high at all. No.
How?
Again, if they're going to shoot down cylindrical and octagonal shapes, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, I'm going to start to call you. So I think it's on HD setting here at the moment. I just want to go back through this. Now, when I was watching this video originally, when it first sort of started coming out, I don't know if you can see throughout the whole footage there, but there's little bits of blips of spotting like reflections. So I'm just going to try and get this back on again.
No, that's all right.
Okay.
Well, Stephen's saying as well, and we sort of said this earlier, Steve, right? As if that any object that enters into civilian airspace or military airspace is not completely tracked from the second that it enters until when it leaves. And like you say there, multiple cameras, ground cameras, satellites, whatever you want to think about, right? As if they don't know what it is.
Yeah. That's a big jump there, Grub saying North Korea. I don't know.
North Korea. North Korea's been developing UFOs. Right.
Yeah. So I don't know if I can. All right, I'm going to try and get play this again. I don't know if I have a look around this sort of area around here. I don't know if it's look better on my screen on my phone, but you can sort of pick up little reflections here and there. I don't know if it's going to show it.
I'm looking. There's the missile and impact.
And like, what the need for a missile too? Like, you could probably just shoot a couple of bullets into it and it should be right.
Yeah, you would think so. Wouldn't you? You just give it a quick squirt, wouldn't you? I mean, it doesn't need. I mean, where'd that missile go? It's not
is that the jet or is that the missile still going?
That's the missile still going. That's where the missile's still going. Right? Maybe that's why it was North Korea. The missile just kept going. Right? I mean, I don't know.
But anyway, I'll try and do a bit of analysis on the video properly and try and get a bit of in-depth thinking for myself. To try and point out where I was seeing these things from because it was around that time. Unless it was the fragments I was seeing afterwards, I'm not sure. But I'll have another crack at it and we'll figure it out. But
mate, we might leave it there, right? We might leave it there because we're in danger of going round and round in circles. Hey, thank you very, very much to everybody that contributed in the comments. That's the most comments we've had in a long time. So I really appreciate that. We're back. we've got a few other projects on the go, don't we, Mr. Goodall?
We do.
We're going to come together on. Grub's part of those as well, whether he knows it or not. If he knows now.
He's getting dragged to it either way.
Yeah, he's coming either way. And look, I think, we'll see how it dates, right? I'm going to release this audio podcast on my feed tonight once Anthony sends me the file. And because I think this needs to be released straight away because it could be a day-to-day changing type thing. My initial thoughts, I still ring true to me. I think it's a PSYOP. I think it's false flag. I wouldn't be surprised that if in the next couple of weeks they're identified as Russian or Chinese advanced drone technology, and maybe that's used as a precursor to continue the build-up on the next big war, which scares the crap out of me, and I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, we just started a war with potentially 2 intergalactic species, and that's probably not a good idea either.
I think we'll be coming out worse if we did either way.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think the thing is, what I saw today from the listeners and the people that joined in on the chat was that we're all of the same mind. Okay, different versions, different understandings, but overall, we're thinking the same, that we don't believe it at this point. Waiting for more evidence. We're going to try and get together with Mr. Levac next month. He's going to get some dates to me, and we're going to try and do a tripod. Me, Anthony, and Grant.
I prefer to call it a 3-way, but anyway.
You're not calling it a 3-way.
Well, I love a good 3-way. You just can't go wrong with that.
Look, I'm not saying that there's nothing bad about a 3-way. And look, and 3 dudes doing a 3-way, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just not part of that. Okay, right?
Let's not try that without 3-way.
Stop it. What do you got? Final word, man.
Look.
Conversation's just ending. Magnets. No,
magnets. Look, I can't thank everyone enough for joining in on the chat here and joining in, listening in, and whatnot. It's great having you on here. I love seeing everyone in the chat here and listening in. Me personally, I haven't released any episodes yet. I'm not sure when I'm going to start getting back on the podcast just yet. Obviously, do have things in the works there, like get prepared for the show, but I also got my family matters that come first. So guys, thanks for being patient there, and look, I can't wait to get you listening on the episodes there, or even getting in on the episodes, with your own experiences there. So if you do have any friends or family that have got some sort of experiences there, look, send them my way. I want to know about what you guys have been seeing and encountering out there. But for final thoughts on this whole thing out here, look, as I mentioned at the start of the show, I'm not jumping to conclusions. Obviously, everything's all speculation at this point there, or guessing games and whatnot. There is obviously something that's happening in the works here. There's a big picture that's going to be happening at some point. And we're just along for the ride, basically. There's this wait and see. It's as scary as it can possibly be. There's a lot of things that are going to happen, or a lot of outcomes, and everyone's got their own opinions. I'm open to all different opinions here and there. Whoever's got that right answer, that's the thing. We'll
of course we are. I mean, we don't know, man. Like everything we said today, don't listen to us. We don't know what we're talking about. But we do appreciate everybody's time. And look, time will tell, man. Time will tell.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate.
That's it. No, look, thanks very much, mate, for joining in. And I look forward to the next one, mate. It's going to be good fun.
Yeah, it was good, man. It was good fun. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks again, guys. See you on the next time. See you guys.
Cheers.